You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Once an Oiler, always an Oiler. Right, Mike Greer? Let's get into it with the lead. Last week, we kept hearing that teams were asking the Oilers for a first or second round pick to take one of Ceci or Kulak, and Mike Greer stepped up and said, how about I take Cody Ceci and I give you a better defenseman in return? The Oilers had themselves a busy weekend. Welcome into a Monday edition of Oilers Nation Everyday, coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online at sportscloset.ca. And if you were under a rock for the last 48 to 72 hours, we have a lot of news to discuss. And it is interesting because we are coming down to crunch time in the Oilers offer sheet drama week, we'll call it.
The era. End of an era.
End of an era. By tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Mountain Time, GM Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson will have to officially make or have their decision made on what they're doing with the dueling offer sheets from the St. Louis Blues. And yesterday, we got a couple of pieces of news that kind of had me going in different directions. So let's jump into that. The news of the weekend, and let's start with trade number one. The Edmonton Oilers link up with the Vancouver Canucks, and they send a fourth-round pick, the one they got from the Ottawa Senators. So not their own fourth, but one that will be presumably higher up in that fourth round or earlier in the fourth round. That goes to Vancouver. Vasily Podkolzin comes back the other way. An interesting deal. He is a right winger, but he shoots left. So again, you would think he can move between the two sides. Podkolzin was originally selected 10th overall in the 2019 draft. Liam, who was taken just one pick before him? Was it Philip Broberg?
No,
that's Oh, 2 picks earlier.
Yeah,
two picks earlier. It was Philip Broberg, yes. But Podkolzin, you can see here his AHL numbers. You can see his NHL numbers. The NHL, obviously he wasn't developing the way the Canucks were hoping he would. And that is why the Oilers can get a guy who was a top 10 pick in the same year as Philip Broberg. Again, a while ago, but not an eternity ago. He's still only 23 years old. There still is maybe a bit to like here with the player, but you're able to get him for just a fourth-round pick. The other thing that's interesting in this is Podkolzin's contract. He has 2 more years at $1 million. So if this works, you get a value contract for a couple of seasons. If it doesn't, you put him on waivers, send him down to Bakersfield. The whole amount's buried, even if he doesn't get claimed. And there you go. Kind of who cares, I think, is what it is at the end of the day. Let's start with this deal before we get into its potential impact on the offer sheet side of things. This deal in a vacuum. Do you like it?
I mean, why not, right? Like, what's the harm in it? Like you said, his contract is very team friendly. How many fourth-round picks even make it to the NHL? You're getting a guy who's still relatively young, a change of scenery. The last Russian we had in here that needed a change of scenery did pretty well for us, Clem Shady.
Yeah.
So I don't mind the idea of it. I don't agree with, well, I don't want to get too far ahead of it. The trade, yes, I thought the trade was good. Then the potential is good. Then the Bakersfield condos are going to be great this year.
So you don't see Podkolzin, and we're going to have David Quadrelli is going to join us for a second straight Monday as well. Shout out to our boy Quads. You don't think Podkolzin has potential to impact this team at the NHL level?
No, I do. I just think, I don't think he's better than Savoy. I don't think he's probably on the same level as Lavoie. I'd assume the two of them fight for that spot on the Oilers roster this season.
It's fair.
I think he's going to spend time in Bakersfield this year. That's kind of my idea around it. I love the upside. This is a guy that every time he put on the Russian jersey, he was amazing at all these major tournaments they had. Came into the Canucks, had a solid rookie season, 14 goals, almost 80 games, I think. And it's just kind of not worked out well for him since then. But the potential's there. Maybe a change of scenery helps.
Greta Bar YouTube chat. DJ Bean is in. Is it the DJ Bean? Or as what happens in this chat, is it someone pretending to be DJ Bean? I don't know, but he says Canucks have had to have been positive that even if he played 82 games with McDavid, he'd never score 10 goals in an NHL season again. So he's going to score 1 million goals. And listen, this is a guy who has had a bit of success at the NHL level. In his rookie season, he scored 14 goals, added 12 assists. Only 2 of those goals came on the power play. So I don't hate this trade at all.
No.
What I don't like is, yes, you could If it means they're walking away from Holloway, I don't like it.
Me too.
If this is their justification for we let Dylan Holloway go, I'm not as much of a fan as it. If it's they just looked at it and went, hey, Vancouver's got this guy on the block. We think it's a decent reclamation project to take on, and there you go. Sure, I'm in on it. If it's, we think he's better than Dylan Holloway, he's not. But he's cheaper, and you gave up a fourth, and if you let Holloway walk, you'll get a third. So let's now look at it from that perspective. If the Oilers are viewing this as we got Podkolzin, we gave up a fourth, the trade, you could say, is a $2.2 million Dylan Holloway and a fourth-round pick out, and in is $1 million Podkolzin and a third. Is that a good deal?
No, it's not a good deal at all.
Even with the cap savings?
It doesn't matter to me. This moment in time, the Oilers need to be winning hockey games, and reclamation projects are fine if they're not replacing your third-line winger.
Yeah.
I just don't think the Oilers need to have that. That's not a good deal in my eyes.
It's not.
They got to keep Holloway.
I agree.
If that's the idea, Podkolzin Holloway.
But when that deal came down, it was the first move of the day, and we were sitting here going, okay, that probably means they're walking away from Holloway and keeping Philip Broberg in all of this.
Yeah.
And then we get the news later on that the Oilers have dumped Cody Ceci and the remainder of his contract. $3.25 million is what was remaining on Ceci's deal for one more year. A third-round pick in 2025 also goes to the Sharks. And coming back is a player by the name of Ty Emberson, who played with Dylan Holloway at the University of Wisconsin. A really interesting player. And we'll talk about Emberson in a little bit. But first, the offer sheet impact on this one. It's a little complicated, but it can basically boil down to this. If Evander Kane's going to miss the entire regular season, there is a path now with Ceci gone to the Oilers matching both offer sheets and being cap compliant. That's not insignificant. And it makes me think that, hey, maybe that Podkolzin deal. And you would think they knew that all these things were possible, but what if, just humor me, what if they made the deal of, okay, we got Podkolzin because we don't think we're going to be able to dump Ceci, prices are too high, we're letting these guys walk, and then all of a sudden at the last minute, San Jose goes, actually, we changed our mind, we'll take the deal. We'll give you Emberson, it's only a third, and the Oilers are sitting there going, oh shit, we have everybody. Like, I don't know. That wouldn't totally stun me. You'd think they, in all likelihood, would know. Like, again, when they made the Podkolzin deal, that there was a chance they could move on from Ceci. But there is a chance now they can bring everybody back, Liam. With Ceci gone, would you bring everyone back? Because Jason Greger is on Twitter right now saying there's no, even with this trade, he thinks there's a chance they might just run a right side next year. That's Bouchard, Emberson, Stetcher, Brown. That can't be it.
That would be crazy if they boldly did that. I mean, we've looked through the available players for upcoming free agents, and it's not a great class, is it?
Yep.
It's not like there's 4 or 5 guys waiting there to be picked off. At this point, if you're making that CC move, you have to bring him back, Broberg.
Yeah,
you have to. The rumor kind of is too that Coffey really likes him. Broberg, that is. I think Emberson can actually play a good role in the NHL for this team.
Yeah.
I think he's probably better than Josh Brown, who makes the same amount of money for 2 more years after him. Crazy, whatever. So I could see Emberson kind of being a like for like for Cody in a similar Cody as if I know him. Cody Ceci in a similar way. So I don't hate that. And if the right side next season is Stetcher and Emberson, it probably isn't as terrible as we're making it seem, but it's definitely not an ideal situation. No. I just think bring them both back now. You've gone through the efforts of making these moves and build up the fan base a little bit. For them to keep Broberg over Holloway, something I honestly did not expect. But finding a defenseman like that is much harder than finding a forward. There's arguably now 4 forwards in Bakersfield that are like Holloway.
Lavoie, Podkolzin, Savoy.
And we'll just say Ruby
Jarventi.
Yeah. NHL.
So here's how the Oilers roster shakes down right now. According to Puckpedia, they have 14 players, 8 defensemen, and 2 goalies on the active roster. That includes matching Broberg and matching Holloway. Okay, so in that calculation of 14, 8, and 2, they are $5.925 million over the cap. If Evander Kane goes on LTIR, you are down to 13 forwards, 8 defensemen, and 2 goalies. So what you could do is 13 forwards, send down Josh Brown. There's $1 million, and it rhymed. Bonus points. Send down Josh Brown, run a 13, 7-2 roster, and you're cap compliant by about $75,000.
Sorry, run that through me again. So you send down Brown, Emberson, and Ryan.
Yeah, Puck PD puts this into very simple terms. If the Oilers match both offer sheets, they can be cap compliant to start the year by putting Kane on LTIR and sending down one player with an $801K or more cap hit.
Interesting.
And the other thing I do think you need to factor into all this is you're probably, because once you're in LTIR, there are certain rules about the bonuses that change. So Savoy needs to be on your opening night roster, so that when you call him up, his cap hit is the minimum and not his bonus one of 1.8. So there is that too. So that's but that again, it's very simple to do. You waive Derek Ryan, you keep Savoy on the roster, then you flip flop him the day the season starts. You send down one of Stetcher, Emberson, or Brown, and you are good to go.
Sounds simple.
Which is why at this point, and let's get into it, Liam, and I'm interested for people's opinions of this in the YouTube as well. It's our Sherwood Ford Giant offseason question of the day, brought to you by our friends at Sherwood Ford. The Giant, tired of dealership hassles? Sherwood Ford in Sherwood Park is all about convenience, upfront pricing, and their Giant Deal program. Get clear, no-nonsense pricing on new and used Fords online with all incentives included. Plus, enjoy the ease of mobile service, free pickup and delivery, same day or next day service appointments. Liam, with everything that's gone on in the last 16 hours, really, what do you think happens by tomorrow?
I guess keep both. I do. I just think they've gone through the effort of it now that I think they'll end up keeping both of them.
I don't think you dump Ceci and pay that price if you're not ready to keep them both.
Do you know there's yeah, I think so too. Do you know Emberson played for Chris Knobloch in Hartford?
And won Eastern Conference Defensive Defenseman of the Year in the AHL with Chris Knobloch.
Hell yeah.
I don't think that's insignificant.
No, I don't think so either.
And you're getting a look at Broberg and Holloway here for those of you watching on YouTube. But I do think you don't do all that if you're not prepared to match both. Again, if they wanted to dump Cody Ceci, all the reports were they could have done it earlier in the summer. Mm-hmm. They very clearly did not want to dump Cody Ceci. If you wanted to acquire Ty Emberson at some point, you also probably very easily could have done that if you just loved the player so much, right? So again, to go through this and bring in a depth right shot defenseman, but lose the salary of Ceci, to me, it's a sign they're matching everyone. And Podkolzin, we'll talk to Quads about this in a bit, but I don't think you're bringing in Podkolzin as he's playing in our top 9 and scoring us 15 goals next year. You're bringing in Dylan Holloway, though, and saying he's in our top 9 scoring 15 goals next year. So I think my most likely outcome is they are both matched, and we are applauding the Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson duo for the work they did here.
I think it is actually good to, so we'll take it step by step, but from what they've done so far, I think it's fair to applaud Stan Bowman, no?
I think
the way he's been handled, how long had he been in the job? 2 weeks before these offshoots came in. Next thing you know, you got these offshoots to deal with. 5 days later, you figured out a way to at least consider bringing them both back and having your team within cap compliancy, whilst also bringing in 2 players who are younger.
Yeah,
the others were the oldest team in the league last year.
Yeah,
bringing in a bit more youth, bit more upside. We'll see, Podkolzin. Yes, he's not the player he was supposed to be when he went 10th overall, but can still probably play in the NHL, and he brings a bit more speed to that fourth line, a bit more youth. Emerson, he's an upgrade over what they've probably already had there. Minus Ceci. Ceci's a better player than him.
Yeah.
Or close. These
for Emberson?
I mean, right now, Ceci as a third pairing defenseman was pretty good.
So I want to look at this. This is from Dom Lucian, who breaks players down analytically, has their player cards, does great work over at The Athletic. You should always read Dom's stuff. His rating +5. Defensively, +10. Offensively, -5. And I mean, again, you're not bringing him in to score you goals or produce points or anything. You're bringing him in to kill penalties and be a steady force on the right side, kind of do what Cody Ceci is supposed to do. Dom gives him a +10 rating, again, on a god-awful San Jose team. -5 offensive. Cody Ceci had a +4 offensive and a -1 defensive. He was in the 48th percentile for defensive efficiency. Emberson would be in the 96th percentile of defensive efficiency. I actually think, and again, it's analytical, but Bruce Kurlock said his piece on this on Twitter, and he liked the move. Like, Emberson is familiar with the head coach. He puts up very good defensive numbers on a bad team. Yep. He's young and he's cheap. When I rattle all that off and go, whoa, and he's $2.3 million cheaper than Cody Ceci, you had to give up a third-round pick because cap space is valuable. There's a part of me that sits here and goes, okay, maybe I do kind of think along the lines of what Gregor's saying, where it's like, if you actually liked Emberson this much, and again, we don't know fully where the Oilers do come out on him or what they believe he can be as soon as next season, but if you like Emberson this much, maybe you just looked at this as like this is an easy time for us to get out of the Cody Ceci money. This player popped up. San Jose was willing to make the deal now. Maybe. And we do like him to play on our third pairing next year. But again, then it runs into, well, then who's on your second pairing and all of that kind of stuff. So it's complicated. There are a bunch of different ways to view all these trades. And I still come out of this. Again, if you would have told me coming into the weekend, hey, the Oilers are dumping Cody Ceci, I would have said, perfect. They're going to match both offer sheets without a doubt because they've cleared up the cap space. And now I sit here and I go, it's still clear as mud because the Podkolzin trade complicates it, and getting a defenseman like Emberson back also complicates it.
There's another layer to Emberson too. He needs to play 50 games to stay as a restricted free agent in the NHL this year. Otherwise, he becomes a UFA, which is like a small detail in all of this. But I mean, if he's good, they'll probably just try and re-sign him anyway before the season's even done.
Yeah,
but having an RFA, you would think it gives you an advantage. The St. Louis Blues and Oilers would tell you otherwise.
Fair enough.
Also, Cody Ceci must hate the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about that from a personal perspective on Cody Ceci? Like, you're now going from a bona fide cup contender locked to make the playoffs to a bona fide lottery basement dwelling team in the San Jose Sharks in a contract year, and what could be, if we're being totally honest, your final contract year of your career.
Yeah.
And you're now going to have to spend it on the San Jose Sharks. Ceci got screwed in all of this, and I feel for him. But again, if he can be mad at the St. Louis Blues, we did sit here and talk about how, hey, it's totally within Holloway and Broberg's rights to sign those offer sheets. Neither of us felt any sort of animosity before them because we're like, hey, teams are cutthroat. Teams will let you go at the snap of their fingers. Teams will do whatever it takes to give themselves the best chance to win. They don't usually care how you feel about it personally. So yeah, Broberg and Holloway, when the shoe's on the other foot or whatever, go ahead, take those offer sheets, because guess what? A team will do what they just did to Cody Ceci, and that is take you away from a core group of guys you've been a part of for the last, 3 seasons? You've been on 3 long playoff runs. Cody Ceci's probably sitting there going, I've been a part of a blue line that's played or won more playoff rounds over the last 3 years than everyone except Florida. Cody Ceci goes, I've been playing for a lot of those series, top 4 minutes, and we've been going to cup finals and conference finals, and I'm not a problem. But again, it's a business, right? Team's going to look at you. You are, at the end of the day, you're cap hitting your age to an extent, and you're dumped because again, there's someone cheaper who might be better than you.
So the Sharks blue line, I'm sure we're all very curious to hear what it looks like.
It's actually not.
It's actually very respectable.
Which is what they need to do. You can't be god-awful for all that long, but hit me with it.
So the top pairing, Mario Ferraro,
good defenseman.
And Cody Ceci, which is funny. Jake Wallman and Jan Ruda. 2
minute eaters. Yeah.
NHLers.
I like Wallman.
Henry Thurn.
Henry Thurn's my boy.
And Mark Edward Vlasic. The worst player out of all of it.
Yeah, Vlasic stinks. But everyone else there, Thrun's really, really young, but that top 4, Ferraro's legit, Wallman's legit, and that right side, they're NHLers.
I mean, even the forward group, Aaron, if you want to just scroll up a little bit on that, it ain't good, but it's going to keep you in a lot of games this season. They'll win way more, obviously, than they did last year, but it reminds me of what the Chicago Blackhawks did when they brought in Bedard, and we're like, okay, we can't just have this guy play with nobody. Tyler Toffoli Zetterlund. That top 6 is legit. Wenberg's good. Like, it's just gonna.
I like some of the bets they've taken. Yeah.
When you're a team going through a rebuild, you can't just have these young guys just go out and skate. They will not get better if they lose every single night. They need to be in competitive games, and I think the Sharks will be better this season. I think they'll still finish dead last in the division and probably the conference, but they're going to be competitive for 2 periods of the game and then fall apart in the third every night.
Probably.
Yeah.
And some nights they just won't have it out of the gates and all of that stuff. So it's fair. Okay. Quickly, boom and doom on the 2 trades. I give the Emberson Ceci swap with the pick. I give that a big boom for the Oilers.
I'll go boom.
Boom. And the Podkolzin deal, I don't know. I need to see if it affects the
jury's out.
Little boom.
And a little doom. I don't know.
If it means Holloway's gone, then there's the potential for this to have some doom.
If Holloway leaves, and doom.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel harsh saying that because sometimes it really is just the environment you're in. Like when Podkolzin came into the team last year in Vancouver in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He just played on the 4th line for them.
Yeah.
There's clearly a guy that wasn't wanted very much, and
a lot of people watching the show today.
That is a lot of people.
I didn't see that coming. Sorry, everybody.
Sweating all of a sudden. I think he'll be fine. But look, there was a lot of people on Twitter last night. Sorry, X, talking about how Podkolzin is just Holloway, and it's like that is not true at all. Holloway had a great playoffs. When he came back from Bakersfield, I know it was only like 3 or 4 games and a lot of guys weren't playing. But to end the regular season, he was by far their best player. By a million miles. Gave it everything. Playoffs, he came in, did really well, played a lot in the second line with Draisaitl. Like, I just don't see Podkolzin being that guy. I see him actually pretty much like Klim Kostin. I think he's better than Klim, and the upside is better, and we have him for 2 years now rather than the 1. But by game 25, we're going to be like, why isn't this guy on the second line with Draisaitl? I guarantee it. We're going to be talking about this guy as a top 6 player because he's going to score have a goal or something like that. I don't know. You know what I mean? He's just going to be so overhyped at some point. And I think we need to balance ourselves a little bit and be like, this guy's a bottom 6 player at best right now in the NHL. Hey, maybe by Christmas we can discuss a little bit further, but to start the season, just give this guy some run right. Because I do actually think he might start in Bakersfield.
Dustin, you're delusional if you think Holloway was their best player at the end of the year. In the last 4 games of the regular season, when they were resting everybody,
he was so good.
They were playing him top 6 minutes, and he was scoring like a top 6 winger.
Played really well.
Played really, really well. I think you weren't watching the hockey games at the end of the year because you're a fake fan.
Yeah, you don't remember the Colorado game?
Yeah. I was out. that was dude. Remember when they just randomly were like, you know what, we are starting Skinner again. Everyone's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that was really
like
bad.
an AHL roster, and they're like, I don't know, Skinner needs this before the playoffs get going. Let's throw him out there. Okay, a couple other things I want to get to. Also, DJ is very active in the YouTube chat. He should have just came on the show.
Is it him?
It is. He said it was really him.
Oh, I didn't see it.
DJ, if you're ever sitting around at noon on a Monday or Wednesday or Friday, noon Mountain, you can just have the link ready. You can host the show if you really wanted to. Anyways, okay. Calvin Pickard, the Colorado game was awesome in brackets. What the fuck happened? That's good. That is good. Oh, Pat Puff's here. If Podkolzin, Savoy, or Jarventi steps up this season, would we be upset if Holloway leaves? Excellent question, Pat. And thanks for watching. Appreciate your support of the show.
Just in case it goes down again.
Yeah. Actually, that is a good point. He's always monitoring for quality assurance purposes. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I just also think it's a risk. Like, I don't think Jarventi has any sort of upside to be a top 6 guy. I think Savoy is a year away from being able to for us being able to comfortably say he is a top 6 guy or can be a top 6 guy. And Podkolzin at this point is a lottery ticket. So again, it's a little bit of like it's the Family Guy mystery box scene again, right? And we love making this joke, but like, okay, you can have Dylan Holloway, or one of these prospects might be Dylan Holloway. It's like, just keep Dylan Holloway. Like, why are we messing around like this, right? And another thing people are now speculating on here, I want to find the comment here to say the name because it makes Swirly Whirly 69 has been saying this bunch. Podkolzin plus picks from other drafts plus St. Louis second round pick from the Broberg for a legit top 4 RD. And a bunch of people have been saying in there, like, Jeff Jackson and Stan Bowman, they're playing chess, not checkers. You wait, they're going to go make a big trade for a big right-handed defenseman. Okay, first off, you don't acquire Vasily Podkolzin to then trade him a week later. Like, that doesn't make sense, because if he was worth more than a 4th round pick, Vancouver would have traded him out of the division for more than a 4th round pick. And if you didn't want Vasily Podkolzin, you wouldn't give up a 4th round pick for him. So the idea of Podkolzin being brought in to be trade bait doesn't make any sense. And I know Mulick has brought up Rasmus Anderson in there, and people are talking, oh, big trade, big trade. We did this last week, Liam. Adam Larson's available as a rental. Probably not to the deadline, because Seattle wants to be good. They won't be, but they want to be. Buffalo, Henry Yokoharu, not a household name, but a guy who I think can be serviceable if you wanted to go get him because he's a pending UFA. He's probably not getting moved till the deadline because, again, Buffalo wants to / thinks that they'll be good next season, be close to a playoff team. So there is no trade out there. I don't see it. If one comes down, it's going to stun me. Like if somehow Minnesota's like, yeah, you know what, we're going to keep on Jared Spurgeon and trade him to you for cheap, then like, sure, but why would Minnesota do that? Like, it's hard to find a decent fit out there. Also, he's 34 years old and makes $7.5 million, so no.
But he's a good Edmonton lad.
He's a good Edmonton lad. And if they kept money, then I'd...
Wasn't him and Tyler Ennis's mums really close friends? Wasn't that a rumor?
How would I know that?
Wasn't that on the broadcast once or something when Tyler Ennis?
Someone else will remember if it's true.
Yeah, let me know about that one. Also, on Rasmus Anderson, does no one remember last season when Calgary basically told us to kick rocks when we were asking about Tanev?
Yeah.
Like, why would they trade us Rasmus Anderson?
They wouldn't.
He's probably in the prime of his career.
But why would the Canucks trade us Vasily Podkolzin?
Because he's not that good.
So you're saying the Canucks think they won the deal, hey? They didn't just do us a solid, even though other teams were offering a second?
I beg to differ. I don't. Not for me.
We should get DJ on at some point this week or next
DJ
week.
is welcome.
Spurgeon has Grove.
There you go. I knew it.
I also sent DJ the link just in case.
Just in case. It's no pressure, but
It's
if he's got takes, he is one of, there may be only 4 people who have an open invite to join the show whenever they want. DJ is one of those 4.
Connor McDavid,
DJ Bean,
Wayne Gretzky.
No, invite only. I'd want to prep for that.
You can come on, Wayne, if you're watching. Question from Aaron Johnson.
Okay, first off, we're getting into the Greta Bar Yeg YouTube chat. Shout out to our friends at Greta Arcade Bar Street Food. They do it well at Greta. If you need a good cosign, DJ cosigns Greta. He went there. Remember, he did a post-game show during the playoffs with you guys. Shout out to our friends at Greta. Patio still rocking in the summer. And you know what? This is another thing I want to say. Summer's not dead. Just because it is August 19th, don't stop living your life like it's summer.
Don't stop believing.
You're not school children anymore. Summer doesn't end September 1st. September is still a good summer month in Alberta. Yeah. I don't know if we hit the solstice or whatever that even means.
21st.
September?
Yeah. That's when it changes.
Okay. Yeah. September's still a really good summer month. And Greta and the arcade and the patio help you live a good summer life. Okay. Where was that question? Who was it from? Aaron Johnson.
Aaron. He said, can Edmonton trade Broberg and Holloway to St. Louis for more than RFA comp? Now they're in a driver's seat. No. Once those deals are signed, neither of those players can be traded for the year if the others match that deal.
Correct. Some people late last week were throwing out the idea of San Jose is first on the waiver order. Could you work out something with San Jose, which is you match the deal to Broberg?
Okay.
You immediately put him on waivers. San Jose claims him, and San Jose trades you, I don't know, a second round pick and a prospect for future considerations. Here's what I'll say about that. I don't think it's cap circumvention because the Sharks did it with the Rangers, getting Barclay Goudreau back. And Barclay Goudreau did not want to waive his no movement clause, but he ends up going to the San Jose Sharks because the Rangers just say, hey, we'll put you on waivers. And oh, by the way, we talked to the Sharks. They're going to claim you.
Yeah.
And then they work something out. So you could do it based on my understanding of how the league works. I would imagine the NHL is pretty pissed off at you. I would imagine other agents would probably be a little bit pissed off at you, but also why would you care what Broberg's agent thinks if he's the one who screwed you with the offer sheet in the first place? You could, but What I'd add is if that was going to happen, we probably would have seen a different Cody Ceci deal made with the San Jose Sharks. It probably would have been like Ceci for Emberson in a second-round pick, and we would have been like, what? And then they would have matched and put him on waivers. So I made this joke with Low Tide. And if you know anything about the Oilers and their history with the league when it comes to trying to do stuff like this, the Oilers would do this, the league would investigate, and Edmonton would have to give Calgary a third-round pick after all of it.
Yeah, and then Chicago wouldn't have to pay. Keith wouldn't have
right, like all of that stuff. Remember when it's in the CBA, it was like, oh yeah, there's recapture penalties if a guy retires. Oilers are going to get cap space if Ceci retires. And the NHL was like, no, we've never done that. It's like, but it's in the rules. Yeah, but we just put it there. We don't do it. Aaron, a trade. So once an offer sheet is signed, that is what the players are playing on next year, and they're basically they're frozen assets is a decent way to put it. Either Edmonton can accept them at that deal or Edmonton can let them go to St. Louis, but there is no renegotiating. You cannot change the terms of the contract. You cannot trade the players. And if you're the Oilers and you match, you cannot trade the player for a calendar year. So it would be August 19th, or I guess technically the 20th of next year before you could trade either Dylan Holloway or Philip Broberg. Could not trade them at the deadline this year. So there we go. Aaron, still talking offer sheets. No shit. I think I might be done with comments right away. Neil, 18 goals. NHL, yeah, but he probably would have gotten 20. It was the dumbest thing in the world. Oh, no way. No way. Impromptu appearance on the Star Mechanical guest line from DJ Bean. DJ, where are you at?
Hey, I'm sitting on my porch, and do I have like the black bars on both sides of me?
Yeah.
How unprofessional. Shoot. Terrible. I thought I was going to do this cool, like, oh, I'm outside. How's it inside? Oh, God damn it.
That's okay. We love that you just popped on. Love that you're rocking the oil lid as well. Your take on the offer sheet drama, the trades we saw over the weekend. Are you heartbroken at the idea of losing a Broberg or a Holloway? What do you think the Oilers do? Give us your take.
The St. Louis Blues, as they know damn well, have just over 3 more weeks remaining of me shit-talking them every day. I like the behavior of offer sheets. I think that the perception around offer sheets is often wrong. The idea that people are afraid to do it because they don't want to make their friends mad. I think that is, and have been told by agents that's not what it is. It's more that oftentimes it's just bad business when the only way you can get a player is to drastically overpay them, mess up your own cap, mess up your own future RFA negotiations, especially if guys can go to arbitration. Anyway, I like, for as rare as they are, when offer sheets happen. I like the drama. That's great. I don't like it happening to my guys. I think the last thing the Philip Broberg Edmonton Oilers relationship needed was an offer sheet. I think it was already rough as is, and then here comes a team and says, hey, let's overpay you by probably close to $3 million more than you're worth right now. As for what I think happens, the best guess right now has to be they match Broberg and let Holloway walk. I strongly agree with you two that Podkolzin is not a simple, that's just the Holloway replacement. Part of the Oilers' plan this year in their copper bust, going for it, have Jeff Skinner last year of this Draisaitl contract, knock on wood, hopefully the first of many more years, with Draisaitl. Part of that whole thing was Dylan Holloway, and that your top 9 was going to be absurd. It's just going to be less absurd now if he walks. It's still going to be really good, and I'll tell you what, if anybody's getting on the Oilers on spending their money in other places, I disagree, because they've spent it in the right places this offseason. At least, I'm very, very glad, given all this mess, that Adam Henrique came back, because we'd be a lot more worried if, in addition to all of this, you also didn't have Adam Henrique. So I was going to say there's pros and cons to it, but really this situation, there's only cons. And my guess is Broberg returns to a kind of weird room that's saying like, hey, Philip, thanks for coming back. And Holloway, who I think wanted to have a nice long career as an Oiler, but was kind of forced into this. If you get a great offer sheet, you have to sign it. I think he ends up being in St. Louis, but what do I know?
Is Jeff Skinner a friend of What Chaos? Have you guys had him on?
Dear friend of What Chaos. He has been on. I recommend Everybody go subscribe to Chaos on YouTube. Anyway, in case anybody is just checking us out for the first time. But yeah, he came on this season, talked about that infamous picture of him and Taylor Swift that has the funniest backstory in the world. Very embarrassing experience for Jeff Skinner, but great guy, very funny guy. I have no doubt that team is going to absolutely love him. He's also in kind of a perfect spot where I'm not going to say it's Kessel-esque, but a lot of old hockey hardos will say, "Oh, Jeff Skinner will never win." Jeff Skinner will never win a cup. Well, like, if he's like the 9th best player on his team, he's probably going to win a cup. So, perfect spot. He doesn't have to be the best player, but he does probably get to ride shotgun with like the 4th best player in the NHL. In my opinion, the 2nd best player in the NHL. But I don't want to get into a whole Draisaitl thing. He's going to put up numbers there. I don't think the crazy numbers that people expect, because boys, like, do you think he's on the first power play? I don't. So I think that his numbers take a big hit that way. But I think he is going to fit perfectly with this Oilers team.
Last one I had for you. I know you care about us and you don't want us to waste our time doing anything dumb. Should we watch the Teemu Selanne Brett Hull movie?
There's good bad and there's bad and there's throw your hands up in the air. Like, what is my life? What brought me to this moment where I'm watching this bad? And that is, what is the movie? Oh, Minor Leaguer. That is what Minor Leaguer is. It is so bad. We reviewed it with Katie Nolan on What Chaos this past week, and she watched it before we did. And I was texting with her about it, and she was like, make sure you watch with Pete or with somebody else, because this is like, you truly need like a running partner for this, because you will quit. You will want to quit. She watched it with her fiance, who fortunately also has a really big sense of humor, and they were able to just be like, come on, it's less than 90 minutes, just a little longer. Oh my God, there's still 40 minutes left. It is such a poorly done movie. Any of us with our podcasting chops and our video chops could make something that looks more convincing than this movie. And it's so poorly written, and it's really through no fault of Teemu Selanne or Brett Hull. Brett Hull is actually very funny in it, but it's just an absolutely ridiculous, and not in an entertaining way, ridiculous movie.
All right, DJ, appreciate you popping on, man. This was a fun little boost on a Monday.
Love you. I mean, we were trying to not really talk Oilers this offseason. I won't say that I wasn't trying to constantly not talk Oilers this offseason. I think that the cup ending made for at least an opportunity to reset the fact that we are an NHL show. But once again, as was the case in the postseason, sorry the Oilers are the center of attention. Sorry. Even when a team wants to get crazy and mix things up like the Blues, who do they do it to? The Oilers. The Oilers are always going to be the story, so I will always, always come on with you guys.
All right, love it. Enjoy the rest of your summer, DJ. We'll talk in the fall. Yeah, there goes DJ being away into the night. We do have another guest joining us on the Star Mechanical guest line.
Double guest.
Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can check them out online, starmechanical.ca. David Quadrelli from Canucks Army, Canucks Conversation joins us. David, our two teams hooked up for a little weekend trade. Vasily Podkolzin for a 4th round pick. Let me start with the Vancouver perspective on this. What's kind of been the fan base's reaction to this? Is it, giving up on Podkolzin too early, or thank God they got something for the guy?
I think it's a bit of both, right? Like, fans are looking at it, and it's a guy you selected with the 10th overall pick who showed some flashes that fans were hoping was going to turn into something. Really, at the end of the day, you're always hoping your 10th overall pick is going to turn into something. I'll walk you through this, and I'll try to let you guys get questions in, because I basically could sit here and tell you the timeline of Vasily Podkolzin's career to this point, and that would take me about 10, 15 minutes, and I could do it all. I could give it to you all very thoroughly, but I'll start with where Canucks fans' heads are at right now. When this guy was drafted, we were talking about, okay, maybe a bit of a boomer bust pick, never really put up point totals anywhere he played, but has undeniable tools. Some guys had him in the top 3, top 5. He falls to 10. What a steal. You've got this guy at 10th overall. He's getting comparisons to Mark Stone, all these things like that. So then it kind of fell off a bit for Podkolzin. That's kind of the story with him, is just he went to Russia. We knew he was going to have to play 2 years in the KHL. Was with SKA, who's obviously the top team in the KHL every year. he didn't get a ton of playing time. He learned to play this style of hockey where he's extremely afraid to make a mistake, which basically means he's not generating anything and he's not really doing anything other than not getting scored on when he's on the ice, which is fine. It's a skill, but you're also not a penalty killer. You're not doing these things. So trying to answer your question of where Canucks fans are at, I think a lot of Canucks fans looked at this trade and said, well, he was probably going to get moved or lost on waivers for free anyway, so at least he goes somewhere. There are Canucks fans, obviously, that aren't happy that it's to the Edmonton Oilers. And hey, I'm really high on Podkolzin, so I really like this trade for the Oilers. I'm higher than Podkolzin, higher on Podkolzin than most people, admittedly. But I like the pickup for Edmonton for sure. But for Canucks fans, yeah, there's kind of that level of, well, let's see what he ends up becoming. 4th round pick might not be the price that we want to give up for him.
Do you think he's better than Dylan Holloway?
No, but I also really like Dylan Holloway. Dylan Holloway played playoff games. Podkolzin didn't. If the Oilers had Podkolzin and Holloway, Podkolzin would be healthy scratch. Like Podkolzin would have been a healthy scratch on the Oilers playoff lineup. Yeah, I also really like Dylan Holloway though, so kind of a loaded question, but I think not only do I think Dylan Holloway is better, I think he's a lot better than Podkolzin. But the Oilers might match Holloway still, no? I haven't been what's going on with the Holloway offer sheet? Aren't they keeping both?
We don't know because now with Ceci gone, they can technically keep everyone in B cap compliant, but it would require Kane missing the entire year. Who knows if that's realistic? And when it was just the Podkolzin deal, it was like, okay, they're going to keep Broberg, find a way to do that, and get rid of Holloway and let him go. But now that they made the Ceci deal, it's kind of like, oh yeah, and Podkolzin's not Dylan Holloway. So maybe this was just something where the Oilers and Canucks were talking about this for a while and the timing just kind of lined up in a weird way. But what do you think his upside still is at the NHL level? Like, he scored a decent amount in the American League last year. You've obviously watched him down there. So what do you think he can translate to in the next year? Or is he a longer term project than that?
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a long-term project. You don't have much time with him, I don't think. I think you got to figure it out, right? If you're Vasily Podkolzin and if you're the Edmonton Oilers, you need to figure out what that relationship's going to look like. The reason the Canucks made this trade, guys, is because they didn't want to put him on waivers. Yeah. The Oilers aren't going to want to put him on waivers either. So he needs to figure it out. Like, he needs to figure it out if he's going to be a member of the Edmonton Oilers organization. It's going to be at the NHL level. So for Podkolzin, you asked about what is he now? I wrote last week updating his NHL ceiling, what I think he could become if everything breaks right. And again, I said earlier, the Mark Stone point per game level is kind of what everybody thought. Okay, maybe he can get there. He's not going to get there. So then goes down a level. Okay, now you're Brandon Saad. What can you do for me there? You're Brandon Saad. Is that his new ceiling? That's kind of where I kind of pinpointed as a guy who can maybe put up like 50 points if everything breaks right. That being said, he killed penalties in Russia. He has not killed penalties at any point in North America. Not under Travis Green, not under Bruce Boudreau, not under Rick Tocchet. And I do not get it. I've been saying for years. And again, you're talking to the right guy. I really do like Vasily Podkolzin. Excellent human being, all that stuff aside. Just on ice, I think there's a lot of potential there. At least I thought there was a lot of potential. Now 3 NHL coaches have disagreed with me, but I've always thought there's some potential with Podkolzin there. I think he has the smarts to kill penalties. And again, I talked about that mistake-free game that he tries so hard to play. Like, let him kill penalties. He likes to throw hits. He likes to use his body. He likes to go into the corners. Let him try to kill penalties. He did it in Russia. And again, he did it in the World Juniors. He did it at the Hlinka. Like, this guy can kill penalties. So that's been the big thing for me is if you're going to play in the NHL, it's going to be as a bottom six winger, right? Put up some points, but also kill penalties. Like, that's how you bring value to yourself if you're trying to get a job as a bottom six winger in the NHL. And so far, he just hasn't done that. He hasn't been a penalty killer at any point in North America. And I just flat out disagree with that. I just think that if he was going to stick in the NHL, it's going to be as a guy who is playing in the bottom six. And how do you add value there? You kill penalties. He's not going to be a power play guy. Get him on the penalty kill, and he can score at 5-on-5. Like, he could do that. So that's the path I see. I don't call him a project. Again, you don't have much time with him, right? You have to figure it out. I would, if I were the Oilers, I would get him killing penalties right from the get-go. See what you have there.
Interesting.
Well, there's definitely room for him too.
Yeah, Fogel and McLeod both
Both
gone, as
gone.
someone pointed out in the chat. So the Oilers do have an opportunity on, or do have some openings on the PK side of things as well. You and I were talking privately about the idea of, do you maybe try to get out of that Tucker Poolman money if you're Vancouver? Do you think there's a chance they do that, or do you think this Canucks team's kind of set now like this? Okay, they trimmed a bit of fat with Podkolzin, brought in a pick, and they'll live with the LTIR thing.
Well, the big thing is they want to accrue cap space, right? Like that's why they couldn't get Chris Tanev at the deadline. They really wanted Chris Tanev. They couldn't do it because they weren't accruing cap space, right? They were in LTIR. Patrick Alvin's confirmed to us a few times that yes, he has tried to move the Tucker Poolman contract. It's the last year here, $2.5 million. They would have, I think. Like if they could, they would have. And I think the ask is just too high from other teams for what the Canucks are willing to do, right? Because ultimately, this is how I always say it, is you have to look at it from a pure asset management perspective. What use is that third round pick to you if you're going to have to, or excuse me, what use is that cap space if you're going to have to move out a third or second round pick to gain that cap space? What use is it to you then? Because that second or third round pick, that could have been used to go get a player that you like in season to upgrade your lineup, right? So you have to look at it from a pure asset management perspective. So do I think the Canucks are going to move Poolman? Probably not. They've been trying to for a while now, and they haven't been able to. So I would just think unless the price comes down from what other teams are asking for, I don't think they're going to move it. I think this is because they're cap compliant right now, right? Like they're happy, I think, with what their books look like right now. And again, they just freed up some money by getting rid of Podkolzin. So I don't think they're going to move Poolman. I think this is kind of what they are when it comes to the roster construction.
Quads, appreciate your time, man. We wanted a little scouting report on Podkolzin now that he is an Oiler, so we appreciate you popping on quickly.
Cheers.
There you go. David Quadrelli from Canucks Army. You can read his work there. You can watch him on Canucks Conversation. Does great stuff there. Let's get to what's trending, Liam. We got a couple more segments we got to knock out before the end of the show. It is brought to you by MS Canada and A&W. Burgers to Beat MS Day is back, celebrating its 16th year on Thursday, August 22nd. That is just a couple days away. For every teen burger sold on Burgers to Beat MS Day, $2 will be donated to MS Canada. In the lead up to August 22nd, you can support Burgers to Beat MS by rounding up your bill with any purchase at an A&W, donating online at burgerstobeatms.ca or through the A&W app. We will get to what's trending, but first, a quick word from A&W.
Grab a burger, beat MS on August 22nd.
All right, what is trending, Liam? A couple of things from around the league. Over the weekend, Don Waddell, GM of the Columbus Blue Jackets, updated the world on the Patrick Laine situation. Waddell said, quote, "I've told his representation that we will definitely look at every deal, and I've given him full permission to talk to teams." Waddell said, just because a player wants to be traded, two things have to happen. You have to have a willing partner, and you also have to have a deal that we can both accept and agree on. At this point, I don't have that, so I can't rule out any possibilities at this point. Laine does not want to be a Blue Jacket. The Blue Jackets do not want Laine to be a Blue Jacket, but yet they can't trade the former second overall pick. Interesting.
What's his money now? Like 6 something?
Yeah, something like that.
4 years.
No, I think it's more than that. I think it's 8. Let me double check. I'll have your answer. 8.7 for 2 more years. So, like, if you're Columbus, you got to keep a good chunk of that.
8.7, you said?
Yeah.
You can get down to 6. 6.5 isn't brutal. I don't know. I
scored 6 goals in 18 games last year. Was very banged up. Then took a leave. Went in the player assistance program. Before that, back-to-back 20-goal seasons. But again, only played 56 and 55 games in those years. Like, he's not the scorer he once was, and he can't stay healthy. I think you're gonna have a tough time convincing teams to take a chance on him. He's
probably just not the guy we all thought he was. So
that's
fair. I just don't think he's the driver, right? Like,
it's not a driver. High-end complementary piece.
So find a driver. There's a driver in Chicago.
That is a good point. Him and Bedard would be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it would be. Look, what does Chicago have to lose? Games? They already want to.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, I just think that would be, honestly, not a bad fit for them. I don't see this one happening. I don't even know what the cap space is, but just throwing out there, like, Carolina love to pick up random guys and take a chance, and they have good finish. Well, I guess just one now because Teravainen's gone. But Aho and Laine, I believe they were both on that Finland team that won the World Juniors with Puljujärvi. Is that a terrible idea if you can get the cap down a little bit?
The only teams that could afford to absorb Line A straight up right now are Buffalo, Boston, weird. Buffalo, they had to sign Swayman, though. So Buffalo, Utah, Columbus, already have them. San Jose, Detroit, Calgary, and Anaheim. Detroit would be interesting.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't you
Detroit,
want more scoring?
but can you take that risk if you're Detroit? They're in a space where
Got to
it's
sign
like,
Sider and
kind of
Raymond,
need,
yeah.
kind of need guys to
Yep.
help us win games.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina also does, but if it doesn't work out for them, it's not the end of the world.
That's fair. The other situation we're keeping an eye on around the NHL, and that was trending this weekend. Someone said the Sidney Sweeney situation. Definitely monitoring that, keeping close tabs on anything that could develop there. But also, on a serious note, it would be that Yaroslav Askarov, the goalie prospect for the Blue Jackets, or for the Nashville Predators, my bad, has asked for a trade and has apparently started to float it out there. And Kevin Weeks had it. He will not report to their AHL team in Milwaukee. A lot of people thinking maybe the Montreal Canadiens could be a fit for Askarov. They obviously have Sam Montembeault, but if you could go 50-50 Montembeault-Askarov, that might be a good way to lead yourself into the future. I do think San Jose would be interested in him. They need to find their goalie of the future to get them through this rebuild, so that'd be interesting too. So a couple of spots I could see him going, but it feels like he is forcing the Preds' hands here. And another thing that would always scare me when it comes to this is guys just going, I'm going to Russia. Right? Like he's a Russian goalie. What if he was just, that's always what scares me when you're trying to develop these guys. And I don't know if it's a right or wrong stance to have, but like there's always just the lingering thing. You know, we saw it with Kuznetsov this offseason. He signed a massive deal in Russia. He's not worth that at the NHL level, but a Russian team was willing to pay him. So with Askarov, if you're Nashville and you don't give in to him right now, what's going to stop him, you know, maybe next summer when the deal's up, just being like, nah, can't trade me now. I'm going to go play in Russia for $3 million a year.
If you're in Nashville, though, I got a couple of thoughts on this. One, it was a different GM that drafted him.
Yep.
So that's obviously not helpful for Askarov. But two, if you're Barry Trotz and you have a player you took in the first round a couple of years ago, whether you took him or not, do you really need to sign Scott Wedgwood for $1.5 million for 2 years?
No.
Just play him as your backup. I think Nashville has kind of failed him a little bit too. In this sense, that because his American League numbers are solid, right? Like from
but also like again, they should have just traded him earlier in the summer when maybe they could have gotten before it got to this stage.
But also, I don't know. Just clearly, you put your eggs in the basket of UC Soros. But I think you have a guy like that, then you figure it out down the road if he can become your guy.
Yeah, fair.
I would have kept him, but I also respect his decision to be like, well, you don't want me, I don't want you.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that is what's trending around the NHL for our friends at A&W. Well, we're going to get to that other sports report brought to you by our friends at Bet365. You can download the app today to get in on a wide range of markets and use the promo code OILYBONUS. That promo code is OILYBONUS. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. Other sports report, Liam. The Edmonton Elks have won 3 consecutive football games.
They won that one on the weekend.
Handedly, to the point where the Hamilton Tiger Cats have since fired their defensive coordinator and hired who to take over?
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones back in the mix. How much are the Tiger Cats paying him?
I don't know.
$0 because he knows he's getting his money from the Elks and he did not ask for more money. He just wants another chance in the league. So the Elks beat Hamilton 47-22 with McLeod Bethel Thompson at QB, which now I'm starting to think, maybe MBT wasn't the problem. Maybe it was just all Chris Jones, but MBT had himself a game thrown for 234 yards, but it was the Elks ground game that really did the damage. Justin Rankin ran for 108 and got across the goal line 3 times, including a 40-yard burst. Liam, the Edmonton Elks very well might be making the CFL playoffs. They're 2 points back of both Calgary and Winnipeg. You only have to catch one of them. You're also just 4 points back of Toronto, but they have a game in hand and you'd have to cross over. So whatever. Sorry, you have to catch both of Winnipeg and Calgary, but you're 2 points back. You play Calgary 3 more times this year. The Elks could be doing something.
Yeah, I think it's that running game that they've been able to find that is helping them win these games. Like it makes it a lot easier on your quarterback when the run game is such a threat. You know, the field becomes more open. So it all works in rhythm, right? So be curious to see what happens when Trey Ford comes back. I can't believe they're 1 winning games and 2 gonna make the playoffs probably.
Yeah. So
Like,
next,
not to get ahead of it, but like,
yeah,
they could win a
Tough-
playoff game.
tough test this Sunday. They're taking on the Grey Cup favorite Montreal Alouettes in Montreal. So that's tough. That will probably,
And in a win,
yeah. Well,
For one
no.
team.
Yeah, for not the Elks, but still chance after that. Because again, you have those 2 Labor Day games against Calgary that come up on September 2nd and then on September 9th or whatever. Here's a look at the CFL standings. Got to go down. West Division. Bang, there we are. Hello. Okay. Playoffs are not a given. Yes, we know that, Daryl Sutter, but still, I believe in this Elks team right now. I think they're starting to hit their stride a little bit here. Another thing, how are things going for the Toronto Blue Jays? Well, Bo Bichette has apparently asked for, or is going to be asking for a trade this winter. Has no plans in signing with Toronto once he's a free agent at the end of 2025. So, considering the fact that I think he's been milking injuries this year and just overall pouting like a little baby. So I think we've seen the last of Bo Bichette in a Toronto Blue Jays uniform, which is sad because I own a Bo Bichette Toronto Blue Jays uniform. I'm going to miss him just because, again, exciting prospect. Should have been cornerstone franchise piece, but it just was never going to work out, I guess. So Bo Bichette seems to be on his way out or will be on his way out at some point over the next 3 to 5 months. And Chris Bassett had this to say, speaking on a podcast. The one thing I will say about the Blue Jays for this year, we put $700 million into Shohei Ohtani's basket and didn't get him. We didn't really have a pivot. Yes, that was obvious. I mean, the players wouldn't react great to the fact that at one point they were about to get Ohtani and ended up with basically no impactful players this offseason. But the other thing he said that was interesting was he was asked what went wrong in Toronto. And he said, I don't want to honestly answer that question because I don't think it's fixable.
Perfect.
Yeah. So the Jays are, as Daryl Sutter put it, a disaster. Yeah, they're just an absolute dumpster fire right now. It's basically Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and a bunch of crap. But yes, Maynard, Bowden Francis looked legit. He's put together 2 good starts. There'll be a handful of these random prospects and middling guys who play good down the stretch, and we'll convince ourselves that they'll be players next year. And then next year we'll buy into some hype in spring training, and the Jays will come probably dead last in the AL East again. It's going to be, it's going to be bad. Anyways.
Did you hear about Pathetico Madrid yesterday?
Oh, did we win our co-ed game?
No.
Oh.
But we lost 2-1 and we had 9 players.
Oh, really?
So
Did no one show up?
no, we didn't have enough girls. We only had 2 girls, so you can't play. You're supposed to have 4.
So then you guys put up a good fight.
We absolutely dominated this team. We literally just didn't have the legs to score. We had all the possession. They sucked. And
That's rude.
somehow, no, they were brutal. Like the fact we had 9 players and we're like keeping possession with 3 of us passing around it. It was crazy. Our goalie played really well. Probably, I said after the game, might have been our best game this season.
Really?
Crazy.
Just needed someone who could score.
Yeah. Quite frankly, yes. We didn't need a goal scorer. We would have won. Oh, we had so many chances. Bolton drew 0-0 against Wrexham, by the way.
Are you okay with that result, though? Not the end of the world.
First time we've not scored a goal at home since August 20th, which is tomorrow. So just
so 364 days.
Yeah, about that.
Tough. Very tough.
That's okay.
I surprised my fiance Amber with a trip to the mountains.
I saw that.
We played Stewart Creek on Saturday, Silvertip on Sunday. Sunday, golfed with an Oilers fan. His name was James.
Oh,
Works in the insurance game, is what I learned.
oh very nice.
And he was great. You know, when you get paired up with someone at the golf course, it is always a wild card. Like I was in the pro shop before the round, and I knew we got paired up with a single. And there was one guy in the pro shop haggling. Again, Silvertip is a nice course. Like, you act a certain way. He was haggling with the pro shop about the cost of balls.
Sick.
They were like $75 for a box of 12. And he was like, can you throw in the ones with your logo on it? And the guy at the pro shop was like, they all have our logo on it. And he goes, okay, then 75 is not bad. I'm a cash guy, though.
Oh.
And he goes, so what can you do for me? And the 20-year-old working behind the desk goes like, nothing. And he was like, come on, I know how these things work. And I was like, oh my God, if I'm paired up with that guy, I might just drive home. I might just not play it. But I ended up being paired up with this guy. He was an absolute stick. He shot like a 74. And he was like, I probably could have gone lower. I was like, oh, really? That's depressing. But anyways, that was my weekend.
I hate golfing with other people.
I know, me too.
I honestly just won't go. If I know if I don't have enough players, I won't go. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
One thing I've done before, all golf course owners, close your ears. I've booked for 4 and then just said my 2 friends will meet us down the course, and then I don't have to.
I know, but if you
there's no credit. I only do it if I don't have to put my credit card.
I was gonna say because sometimes they ding you for that. So someone Ty's fiance. Oh, I thought this said my fence. My fence is getting fixed this week, or I'm getting a new fence this week. It's a very exciting time for me.
Oh, that's big.
Giddy up. Derek Knight, retire 30 to the rafters in Edmonton already. WTF? Who's that about?
Calvin Pickard?
Pick Daddy?
Let me have a look.
I don't know. That was a weird comment to get at the end of the show. Anyways, we should wrap this bad boy up. So here's what we're going to do show-wise, everybody. There is going to be news about the offer sheets at some point. Colton asked, Tyler, will you do a show when the waiver news comes out? Yes. So
waiver news?
You know what I mean? Not waiver news, offer sheet news. When it comes out, yes, we will do a show. If it breaks at some point tonight, maybe I'll just go live tonight.
I think it will break today.
I think it will too. So we'll do a show. It'll either be tomorrow, and if they end up making us wait till tomorrow, we should probably just do it tomorrow morning instead of waiting till noon.
Well, 7:31
a.m.
is when they have to announce it.
So we're either going live tonight or 8 a.m. tomorrow. Let's do that.
All right.
For the people. Giddy up. Wake up early.
What else are we going to say?
Well, we'll have the reaction. We can talk about lineups.
No,
and
I'm willing to do it, by the way.
I know what else. It'll be a quick show, probably 30 minutes.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm down.
Derek is talking about Bill Ramford.
Okay.
Not Richard Backman.
Not Richard Backman.
UC Marketing?
Okay, so if you're watching on the YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, and then make sure you have our alerts on. And then when the offer sheet news comes down, we'll go live, and then bing, bang, giddy up. You'll get a notification on your phone, and you watch the show.
Bing, bang, giddy up.
And then we're going to do this week, so we'll do another show at some point by the end of tomorrow, okay? Something's happened. Wednesday, no show. Thursday, show live from A&W for Burgers to Beat MS Day. What A&W are we at again? I have it written in my... Windermere. We're live at the Windermere A&W on Thursday for Burgers to Beat MS. So you can come and say hi to us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Have some teen burgers for a good cause. And then we'll probably do a show Friday as well, but we'll see. But guaranteed today, you just watched it, so you know that. Something about the show is breaking. Wednesday, off day, Thursday at A&W. There you go. All right. Also, new episode of the Real Life Podcast is going to drop later on this afternoon, so we'll get to work on that as well. So giddy up. Thanks for tuning in today. Shout out to DJ Bean for a little impromptu appearance.
Yeah.
David Quadrelli for giving us our Podkolzin breakdown, scouting report. Everyone in the YouTube chat, excellent stuff. We'll be back some point in the next 24 hours. See you then. Oil up.
See ya.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit OilersNation.com.